If you have a Harris supporter in your life, this is the perfect question to ask them.
What is Harris's biggest accomplishment to date as vice president?
I don't know. I don't feel comfortable doing this anymore.
Yeah, then why are you supporting a random person that you don't know almost anything about? As of course she represents the perfect corporate candidate. As the other guy, he's out there saying a lot of really crazy stuff right now as we are slowly getting closer to finding out the larger answers about the attempted taking of his life that luckily failed. This, as there's a lot of surprising statements in the larger investigation that is ongoing right now, as the former president of the United States is literally also threatening Mark Zuckerberg of arrest and sending him to jail, as his opponent literally isn't saying much. Not much at all, as of course she's expected to do an interview on one of the most friendliest networks to the Democratic political party that has ever existed, as Kamala Harris will not be doing the interview by herself. She literally will have a white male mansplaining everything to the TV audiences, as she only agreed to do an interview if her VP pick is going to be sitting directly next to her, helping her answer some of the questions. As of course, it definitely does look like the Kamala Harris campaign has been allergic to any kind of unscripted questions, interviews, or, any actual reporting that has never been conducted as of late, as she is ducking and dodging any form of accountability, any form of a free-flow conversation that is not tightly controlled by her friends and assets in the TV industry. All of this as her political opponent is doing the exact opposite of that and speaking to anyone and everyone, including podcasters, including a lot of independent media, and saying a lot of really interesting things, as Donald Trump now is pointing the blame on the Biden-Harris administration for the attempted taking of his life. As Donald Trump, on an interview with Dr. Phil, had this to say, which is getting a lot of media coverage right now.
He's been sort of angry. We talk about Secret Service. He always made it very tough for us to have the proper number of Secret Service people. And I don't know whose fault it is, but I will tell you, I'd have these massive rallies with 50, 60,000 people or more. And our people were always fighting to get more security, more Secret Service. And he knew that we didn't have enough. And he'd have a rally of 3 or 4 people. I mean, nobody would go. If he had a rally, if he got 20 people, it was a lot. Nobody would go. They'd stand on a road and they'd look for people to try and be there, like he had somebody behind him. And yet he had a massive contingent of Secret Service. And I know that they wanted to have his people come over to these big rallies that I was having. And I know that it was a very tough situation. So, when this happened, people would ask, whose fault is it? I think to a certain extent, it's Biden's fault and Harris's fault. And I'm the opponent. Look, they were weaponizing government against me. They brought in the whole DOJ to try and get me. They weren't too interested in my health and safety. I would be if I were in their position, but they weren't very interested. But they were always making it, from what I understood, and I could feel it, they were making it very difficult to have proper staffing in terms of Secret Service.
I'm not saying that they wanted you to get shot, but do you think it was okay with them if you did?
I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of hatred. I don't know why. I had a great presidency. We had the best economy we've ever had.
Now, is he right for making those statements? As clearly there was something wrong with the Secret Service there. Clearly they weren't all there, as other people are excusing the larger kind of failures here on some kind of potential deliberate action, which you could see in the mind of Donald Trump, as brought up by Dr. Phil, is something that he is kind of contemplating, thinking about, and probably trying to express in a very careful way, as there is still a lot at stake here as we are nearly just 60 days away from November 5th, which will be a major day deciding the future of America, its politics, its people, and the future trajectory of where we are going to be going as a civilization. Now, of course, the media is having a heyday, extrapolating a lot of different points there, and this is why we decided to play the kind of full excerpt here so you guys could make your own kind of determinations from this. As, of course, The Guardian ran a headline, Trump, without evidence, blames Biden and Harris for the attempted taking of his life. And again, there's a lot of evidence, a lot of circumstantial evidence, a lot of coincidental evidence. As former Secret Service agent Don Bongino describes what happened during that specific day as a, quote, apocalyptic security failure, as he has recently gone off in congressional hearings and talked about a lot of the things that just do not make sense here, that do not add up, that do not make sense for the average person paying attention, as he is even going as far as to predict another security incident which he thinks could happen because the Secret Service is, quote, worse today than it was before the attempted taking of Donald Trump's life. As he's predicting that something else will happen, as of course, I've been kind of predicting that myself, since of course the attempt first originally failed, and it definitely does look like the stakes just got a lot higher, especially with the involvement of RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, a lot of other anti-establishment figures here that have upset and ruffled the feathers of a lot of very powerful individuals within our institutions that probably will be looking for some kind of out, some kind of larger incident to, of course, prevent the inevitable and what looks like a larger transfer of power that a lot of people are very anxious about and are doing things that are very unethical in order to prevent it from actually transpiring. A transfer of power that a lot of people do not believe will go smoothly. And we have every reason to believe that, as of course, just now, nearly 2 months after the incident, we finally get the first pictures of the firearm and the IED in the car trunk of this lunatic that tried to take the life of Donald Trump. Took them long enough, as of course the crazy lunatic here also had his body cremated, as the FBI still doesn't have a, quote, definitive motive for this crazy person, as well as no co-conspirator, no, quote, advanced knowledge of the attack, as they're kind of just sitting there and be like, oh, but we don't know nothing. As a lot of people are saying, really? Do you really not know? You spy on everything. You watch every single communication that goes back and forth between our loved ones. You literally have the ability to see, to perceive, to predict larger kind of behaviors from individuals based on their online activity. And you're telling me, with all the money that we have spent since 2001 on the national security databases, that you failed once again when you were telling us we had to get rid of our privacies, our freedoms, in order for you to keep us safe? You failed once again on this larger notion and promise that, of course, we sacrificed, we paid so much for? Really? That should be the kind of notion that the average American should be thinking about right now. Is a little bit more sinister than that, but as what happened here remains still a larger mystery, not just to the authorities, but to the average American, that the longer this goes on, the more they believe the government was complicit here. As, of course, we previously reported to you about larger obfuscation efforts, as members of Congress have been reporting that a lot of the information that they're requesting is being denied to them. These are the official members of Congress that are investigating this event, that are detailing specifically how the FBI, the Secret Service, specifically redact huge portions of information, delay disclosures, and deny information to the people that are just trying to find out what actually happened here. As 8 shots were allowed to be taken against the former president of the United States until there was actually some kind of response here that we're still trying to understand what actually transpired during those key critical events, as some individuals are saying it was actually local police that was able to, of course, take down this assassin. Other people are saying that it was just some of them distracting this assassin while Secret Service took him out. What really happened here? Again, we still don't know. But if you're Donald Trump, I think it's fair to say that you yourself have a lot of very serious questions about what transpired, what happened here, and how this absolutely unexplainable event was allowed to, of course, transpire right on the building that Secret Service and local police were organizing on, right on top of their building, as he trained at the same facilities that the DHS did, as he was able to have detonators, drones, as he was able to scout out the area with rangefinders, as he was on the suspicious list of individuals that the police were told to keep an eye out for the remainder of the day that they failed once again, as he was able to get clear access against the former president of the United States without anyone standing in his way, as he was literally allowed all the time in the world to literally not just position himself, not just aim, but take 8 shots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 shots until, of course, he was taken down and eliminated as a threat. There were Secret Service agents, sniper teams all around him. There were Secret Service agents taking photos of him when he was on the roof. There's police officers like, oh yeah, there's a guy there. And you still kept Trump on stage during that entire time? Yeah. Sorry, there's no other way for me personally to conclude other than complete and utter inside job from the start to finish. And this is why we probably are seeing a larger kind of realization from this, from Donald Trump, that is making these larger statements, pointing the finger directly at some very powerful people in the establishment for the responsibility of trying to take his life. And I don't think he's wrong in doing that. I think until we get legitimate answers from the federal authorities here, until we get a legitimate explanation here, there's nothing else to believe other than that. And the corporate media will attack him for it, and the corporate media obfuscated this event from the very beginning, as social media has even been caught red-handed trying to obfuscate the larger ramifications of all of this and the larger kind of political victory that Donald Trump had here, actually surviving this attempt on his life. As it looks like the gloves are off for Donald Trump, as he is now saying that if he wins in 2024, he will put Mark Zuckerberg behind bars. Yes, you heard that correctly. All of this, as of course, as if you have been watching our podcast episode, I've been saying this for a number of weeks now, that this is a far bigger election with far more ramifications, especially when it comes to the online digital free speech space, that, of course, will have a grave and severe impact on a lot of the big tech social media companies and the larger influences and controllers of them. And I have directly said that Mark Zuckerberg, even a couple weeks ago, I said this on thebestpoliticalshow.com, specifically, that Mark Zuckerberg understands that there's a lot of very significant pressure on him ever since he played a major role in the 2020 political cycle. Him understanding the significant role he played, he understands that he also put a target on himself by the Republicans that understand and see him as a legitimate threat, as he gave $600 million during that political cycle that overwhelmingly helped the Democrats. And everything that I said is coming to kind of fruition here, as Donald Trump is now warning Mark Zuckerberg that he is being, quote, watched closely and will spend the rest of his life in prison, quote, if he attempts to interfere in the 2024 election. Very important comments that I think I have foreshadowed that now have come true with this statement. As the corporate media is putting their spin on all of this, that is, again, claiming that Trump has no evidence that Mark Zuckerberg played a major role in 2022. And of course, he did. We all know he did. The evidence is clear. It's right in your face. And the corporate media, again, in this article, is trying to obfuscate the larger truth of what's happening here, as Mark Zuckerberg's recent actions could be blamed on the larger political ramifications of everything that's unfolding right now and the seriousness of it that he probably realizes himself. As of course, The Independent is telling you, no, they didn't play any major role here, as Mark Zuckerberg literally released a letter saying, yeah, we acted on behests of the Biden administration, specifically when it came to censoring very important stories during that cycle that, of course, played a major effect on it. As of course, Zuckerberg even admits that he pushed and suppressed certain news stories in order to be more favorable towards the Biden-Harris administration, and that's exactly what he did. as there's a lot of individuals within the power establishment, within very powerful institutions in our society that are absolutely kind of afraid of what's coming next, as even the United Nations legal affairs official recently came out in a secret undercover video from Steven Crowder describing how the future of the United Nations is absolutely uncertain and he believes will not survive a second term by Donald Trump. And knowing the particular atrocious and horrible unethical record of the United Nations, I think that's not a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. As Donald Trump is becoming more and more vocal, more and more outspoken, as the other side is literally hiding away, not really saying much at all, instead of just empty slogans, words, and rhetoric that really don't amount to anything. Now, how will the American government be changed under the Donald Trump administration? Will it look something like we're seeing right now unfold in El Salvador? Maybe. But before then, if we even get to there, there's a lot of other things at stake here, as of course, we just had the CEO of Telegram arrested in France, facing 20 plus years in jail. Other social media company owners like Elon Musk, who are not playing ball with this administration, are also being warned not to fly, not to travel. So is, of course, Chris Pavlovsky, who just fled Europe, as there is a basic assault, a basic war on freedom of speech also at stake during this election cycle, as the government of Brazil just recently also froze the bank accounts linked to Starlink, as they are trying to seize fines that have been levied against a separate company that Elon Musk owns, Twitter, as the government there is really not happy about Twitter providing free speech to individuals in Brazil. This, as the offices of Twitter had to be recently shut down in Brazil, highlighting and foreshadowing larger moves that probably will be happening all throughout the United States under a potential Harris administration that is very kind of allergic towards free speech and individuals being able to, of course, speak to each other. Now, whatever will happen, it definitely will be very vast, very big, and very crazy. And this is why I keep warning people to take care of their health as best as you can. And you should check out wearechange.shop. We have a store that provides great, amazing supplements that are absolutely awesome, that are absolutely incredible. You can get started with the ultimate bundle all on wearechange.shop and start your own independent health journey and be able to, of course, start looking into your own personal health and well-being. Start doing some research, start doing some homework. We actually have a lot of information on our website, wearechange.shop, that will help you begin this kind of larger health independent journey, because if you're not aware, there's a lot of things that are out there that are not really good for you that the establishment tries to get you to take. And there's a lot of things you have to do to counteract those bad things. And this is why we keep recommending people to get their blood work done, to talk to their medical professionals, to make sure that their life is in harmony and in balance, that they take some time to meditate, but they also take some time to consider what they take not only into their minds, but into their mouths. And to me, I started supplementing a few years ago. I had a major health transformation when I started to do that in a controlled fashion, in an informed fashion, which I recommend you guys do. Get your start right now on wearechange.shop, because we are going to be in for some crazy times, and your physical health is directly correlated to your mental health. Make sure your physical health is at its best so we could, of course, survive, sustain, and be ahead of all the crap and propaganda coming our way. Something big is going to happen. It's only a matter of time, and I hope you guys are prepared for it the best way that you can. That's just my 2 cents. What do you think is going to happen? Let me know down in the comment section below. I love you guys. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys subscribing, and this is why I love you. Stay tuned for more here on youtube.com/wearechange.